Bioships in Stellaris 4.3 are the strongest fleet type in the game. They cost food instead of alloys, they regenerate armor in combat, they grow from juveniles into elders with 3 rare components, and in over 200 battles that I tested, 6 out of 11 biocompositions beat every single mechanical fleet, all 13 of them. In this video I'm covering everything: how bioships work, what makes them broken, the best design for every ship class, the optimal fleet compositions, and the full battle data to prove it. Quick report from High Command before we dive deeper. Most of you watching aren't officially enlisted yet. If this run gives you ideas for your own games, subscribe and join our navy. The single biggest advantage bioships have isn't a combat stat, it's actually their cost. Bioships cost food and alloys to build, but mainly food. Their upkeep is also food and alloys, no energy. This matters enormously in 4.3 because food is fundamentally easier to produce than alloys. Alloys require specialist pops, metallurgists who then consume minerals as upkeep, which then requires miners who also consume food. It's a multi-layer production chain. Food has 0 intakes. You produce it directly without consuming anything, so no intermediate resources, no specialist pop requirements, and no production chain. As a matter of fact, you can even use the automation buildings and starbase buildings to produce some of it. In 4.3's restricted economy, where stacking upkeep reductions for metallurgists is nearly impossible, this streamlined production chain means you can field larger fleets and faster and sustain them more cheaply than any mechanical empire. Before a single shot is fired, bioships already have an economic advantage. Bioships also have innate armor regeneration that activates when they drop below 50% armor. They will passively repair during and between battles without any action from you, commander. On top of that, their armor components give both armor and hull, whereas mechanical ship armor components only give armor. This makes bioships very tanky against bypass weapons as a result. Take the Stinger as an example: 8 defensive component slots versus a battleships with 6, and 7.1 thousand hull versus 5.8 thousand. Despite looking comparable on paper, Stingers are significantly tankier than battleships. That is without even accounting for the extra shield and armor that they have due to the extra defensive slots. Every bioship class has organ slots that give extra versatility that mechanical ships simply don't have, but the real edge is in the weapon slot. Harbingers carry 4 neutron launchers, double what a cruiser gets. Stingers carry 4 X-slot weapons, 4 times what a battleship gets, 4 Titan lances, 4 giga cannons, or 4 focused arc emitters on a single ship. These aren't minor upgrades, they fundamentally change what a single ship can do. Bioships also grow through 3 different stages: juvenile, mature, and elder. Each stage have a completely different loadout. Here's what is broken: you can set an empty loadout for the juvenile stage and give the elder stage the most expensive components in the game: dark matter, archaeotech, whatever you want. When the ship grows from juvenile to elder, it equips those components instantly for free. You don't pay for the upgrade, it just magically appears. Even building them normally, it's significantly cheaper to build a juvenile and let it grow than to build an elder directly. You can skip the growth by building elders outright if you want, but the cost savings from the growth path are substantial. If you want to accelerate growth, on the other hand, build 1 juvenile weaver with a growth gland organ and attach it to your fleet. 1 weaver grows every ship in the fleet regardless of fleet size. Pair that with the growth aura from starbases and your ships mature very rapidly. Once the fleet is grown, you can send the weaver to your next fleet or just build another one because they are cheap, and it does not matter if they are juvenile, mature, or elder, the weaver with the growth gland will do its job regardless. Talking about the trade-offs, there are 2 disadvantages that bioships have that are worth knowing. Bioweapons and defensive components are roughly 20% weaker per component and have shorter range. X-slot weapons have 120 range versus 150 for mechanical. Kinetic artillery has 90 versus 120, but bioships compensate with more component slots and more hull, so the effective tankiness and damage is higher per individual ship despite the weaker components. Naval capacity usage is significantly higher though. Stingers cost 64 naval cap versus 40 for battleships. All bioships they double in naval cap from juvenile to elder. Maulers go from 4 to 8, weavers from 8 to 16, harbingers from 16 to 32, and stingers 32 to 64. In a patch where naval capacity is the bottleneck, this matters a lot, but as the battle data will show, the advantages massively outweigh these costs. Now just a quick methodology so you can trust the numbers here. All fleets used 448 naval capacity, mechanical fleets adjusted to 440 or 450 to match, no special weapons, dark matter or psionic components, no leader or empire modifiers outside of the supremacy tradition with war doctrines, best of 3 for every matchup, and a 50-50 armor and shield split for consistency. Both rapid deployment and no retreat war doctrines were tested separately. Now let's get into what actually wins. The early game, well, Maulers are the king. They are pretty much the Corvette equivalent, cheap, fast, swarming. In the early game, pure Maulers win everything, against other bioships and against mechanical corvettes. A bio has clearly the upper hand early on, no questions asked, they absolutely dominate corvette. The best design in the early game is one mandible and one flak gun, paired with afterburners and the swarm combat computers if you have it. The flak gun is better because it can counter enemy strike crafts and also missiles if they are running them. And don't mix weavers early on. I tested pure Mauler against 2 mixed compositions, 78 Maulers with 17 weavers and 44 Maulers with 34 weavers. Pure Maulers won both matchups. The weaver buffs simply had zero impact whatsoever in these engagements, since Maulers have pretty much perfect hit ratio against each other, the buffs and debuffs didn't matter. In the late game, Maulers fall off against other bioships though. Without a significant speed advantage from civics or tech bonuses, they can't close distance against larger ships with longer range. They still demolish the mechanical corvettes, destroyers and artillery battleships, but they lose to missile cruisers, carrier battleships and titans. So the Mauler verdict is this: it is your go-to for your first decades, transition to harbingers and stingers once you can build them. Now talking about weavers, they are designed to buff your ships and debuff the enemy. In theory this sounds great, in practice almost useless. Their buffs and debuffs have zero measurable impact on outcomes. I tested multiple compositions, the weavers never paid for themselves in the early game, but in the late game there is only one type of weaver that pays off. The one exception, of course, is the Confusion Weavers. Paired with some stingers under the no retreat war doctrine, the confusion effect translates directly into damage and stun enemies on contact, which matters when the enemies can't retreat. Outside of this and other specific scenarios, skip weavers entirely. The only other use case is that a single juvenile weaver with growth gland can accelerate your fleet growth. So yeah, the verdict is don't use weavers, just in a very specific scenario or to grow your ships. On Harbingers, on the other hand, they are the all-rounder beast. They are pretty much the cruiser equivalent, and this is where the biometa lives. I tested 2 main variants, neutron launchers and missiles, both with strikecraft and artillery combat computers. The best design by far is neutron Harbingers with 4 neutron launchers, 4 strikecraft, 3 afterburners, the strikecraft armor organs, the artillery combat computer, and well, it beats everything. The pure neutron harbingers, they are very strong, but they have one problem. There is no way to strip the shields, since the strikecraft bypass shields and neutron launchers are terrible against it. The solution though is pair them with kinetic stingers, but we'll cover that in the fleet compositions. The missile harbinger variant stomped Maulers harder than neutrons did, but lost to everything else beyond Maulers and pure neutron harbingers. Missiles are a neat choice, but not the default. The Harbing verdict is, the neutron variant is the backbone of your late game fleet. It needs the Stinger's support to reach its full potential though. Now talking about the Stingers, they can carry 4 axolot weapons, making them the most heavily armed battleship equivalent in the game. 2 designs dominate depending on the war doctrine. The design one is Giga plus Tachyon lances. You have 4 axolots with either Giga or Tachyon lances forces, pairing them with 4 either kinetic artillery or plasma throwers. Pair that with also auxiliary fire control, artillery combat computer, and weapons range organs. This use your burst damage build. It is best under no retreat when enemies stay and die instead of retreating at low hull. The design too, instead of using the Giga Cannons and Psycho Lances, we swap them for 4 focused arc emitters, and then we keep the ratio of kinetic artillery and plasma launchers with around 4 for the kinetic and 3 for the plasma launchers. The same defensive setup and artillery combat computer. The focused arc emitters bypass shields and armor, hitting the hull directly. Under rapid deployment, this forces enemies to retreat early on once the hull takes damage, removing them from the fight while your fleet maintains the full number. Some battles resulted even in 0 losses. So the Stinger verdict here is your doctrine choice determines your design. Both are top tier, and you can also use a kinetic variant of the Stinger with 4 Giga Cannons and 4 kinetic artilleries to pair them with your Harbingers to have the perfect fleet composition, as we'll see just now. Now let's put the ship classes together into actual fleets and see what the data says. So the king by far is 10 neutron Harbingers with 2 kinetic Stingers. This is the single best fleet composition in Stellaris 4.3, bio or mechanical period. The logic is that neutrons deal massive damage, but they can't strip shields. The 2 kinetic Stingers solve that. They shred shields at range so the neutrons can hit armor directly. The ratio matters significantly though. You bring 1 Stinger per 5 Harbingers, that's the sweet spot. With no retreat active, this composition won against everything in bio versus bio except against 14 pure neutron Harbingers. This fleet instantly killed the Stingers in the open volley, so our king composition here couldn't survive that. Against every other composition though, Maulers, other Harbinger setups, Stingers with focused arc emitters, Stinger with weavers, it won everything. I also tested 8 Harbingers plus 3 Stingers just to see how the ratio performed. However, it did perform strictly worse across every matchup. More Stingers sound better on paper, but diluting the Harbinger count reduces your core damage output without enough shield stripping benefit to compensate. I mean, you are getting 1 Stinger more, but you did not need that to strip everyone else of their shields, and then you are losing 2 Harbingers worth of firepower, which equals to 8 neutron launchers. It's too much damage leaving on the table. Why is this better than the mechanical neutron cruiser method on the other hand? Because the neutron cruiser's main weakness is small ships. It needs Titan support to handle corvette swarms. This Harbinger Stinger composition handles small ships on its own. The Harbinger's strikecraft and their Stinger's range create enough coverage that Maulers can close effectively. No escort fleet needed, and as you will see later on, the Bioships really dominate the mechanical ones, it's not even close. So if you want to build one fleet and forget about it, just build this one. 10 neutron Harbingers plus 2 kinetic Stingers. Now talking about the Stinger composition, they have 2 completely different metas depending on the war doctrine. Under rapid deployment, the focused arc emitter Stingers dominate, because they simply force enemies to retreat once the hull takes significant damage. Then your fleet starts to shrink on a battle just from the first hits. This sometimes resulted in 0 losses wins, it's very good. The pure focused arc emitter Stingers, they lost only to a Stinger Weaver fleet with Giga Cannon and Psycho Lance paired with 4 Confusion Weavers. That is pretty much because the Giga Cannon and Psycho Lances, they do a lot more damage just not to hull directly, and the Confusion Weavers, they sometimes resulted in the focused arc emitters firing against each other, and thus resulting in some disengagements from the focused arc emitter fleet itself. The vulnerability though, if the enemy runs no retreat, ships don't retreat, and the focused arc emitter advantage disappears. Your shots still bypass defenses, but enemies will keep fighting and dealing damage at low hull instead of leaving the battle. Another vulnerability tested by Gigi is using the Astral Shielding Edict. When doing so, the effectiveness of focused arc emitter drops significantly. The 25% shield hardening matters so much more than we previously thought. Now that Astral threads are getting a buff, you might as well grab a few Astral Rift just to secure the Astral Shielding Edict, just so that you know, if the enemy is running the Astral Shielding Edict, just don't get focused arc emitter matters because they suffer a lot. Now talking about the other war doctrine, Under No Retreat. In this war doctrine, the Giga Titan Stingers plus Confusion Weavers dominate. The maximum burst damage for fights where nothing runs away. 4 Stingers with Giga Cannons and Kinetic Artillery, and 3 Stingers with take-on losses and Plasma Launchers, paired with 4 Confusion Weavers with the point defense. The Confusion effect translates into direct damage and stuns, the one scenario where Weavers actually earn their slot commander. This fleet lost only to the neutral Harbinger Stinger composition, the king of everything obviously. Against everything else under No Retreat, it won. Just a simple decision tree for you to keep in mind. Do you know the enemy's war doctrine? If they have no retreat, bring 10 Harbingers plus 2 Stingers. That wins against pretty much everything. If they have rapid deployment and no astral shielding on the enemy side, use the Focus Archimeter Stingers. It forces retreats and has 0 losses potential. You don't know what you're facing? Bring the king, 10 Harbingers plus Stingers. It performs well under both doctrines, the safest default. So the hierarchy is, the tier 1, the best of all, is the king, 10 neutral Harbingers plus 2 kinetic Stingers, best all-rounder, wins the most matchups across both doctrines. A situational tier 1, the Focus Archimeters under a rapid deployment and with no astral shielding edict. Highest ceiling, 0 loss victories possible, but it is doctrine dependent, even though most people nowadays use rapid deployment and I've never seen the AI actually use no retreat. So those are pretty much the 2 best fleet compositions for Bio versus Bioships. Now let's talk about the Bio versus mechanical ships. The dominance. Out of the 11 Bio fleet compositions that I tested, 6 of them won against every single one of the 13 mechanical fleet composition tested. Everyone. Corvettes, destroyers, cruisers, neutron cruisers, all types of battleships, they were all beaten. Even Maulers, the weakest late game Bio versus Bio option, they obliterated mechanical corvettes, destroyers and artillery battleships. They only lost to missile cruisers, carrier battleships and titans, which are meant to destroy swarms. The reasons are everything that we covered in section 1 compounding together. More weapon slots per ship, higher effective tankiness from the astral hull and armor regen, and better component slots. When you test them at equal naval capacity and equal tech, Bio simply has more firepower and survivability. That is without even accounting for the economy advantage, which usually means that Bio will field more ships than mechanicals. Just imagine someone using the juvenile growth up into Elder, how many ships they will have more than the mechanical empire. Yeah. Now there is one exception that the mechanical ships kinda win against Bio ones, is with Titans. The kinetic artillery plus neutron launcher cruisers paired with 2 Titans won against nearly every Bioship design. The Titan AoE damage clears the Bioships and the cruiser core provides the sustained damage to finish fights, as we have covered before in our mechanical guide. But even this mechanical Titan fleet lost to the king of all, 10 Harbingers plus 2 Stingers. The Harbinger Stinger composition, they simply have way too much damage. The neutron launchers obliterate the Titans instantly. The Stingers, they also deal massive damage. Yeah, it's really broken. And if the Bio player brings their own Titans, the results reset. The Bio simply dominates once again. So it is pretty much just, yeah, I have Titans and you don't, therefore I win most of the engagements. But even then, if you have the king of all Bioships designed, you still gonna win. So what to do if you're fighting the Bioships? I mean, you need Titans because without them you lose. However, if they're running Harbingers plus Stingers, your options are to outnumber them through economic advantage or avoid direct engagement and play strategically, like hitting their economy, forcing them to split their fleets, using cloaked fleets to just snipe some planets with cloaked armies and etc. But in a straight fight at equal naval capacity, the Bioship will straight up win. So my final recommendations after 200 plus battles, here's the complete Bioship meta for Stellaris 4.3. In the early game, just pure Maulers, maximum amount, no weavers, you're gonna beat everything Bio and mechanical at this stage. The late game, king, 10 neutron Harbingers with 2 kinetic Stringers, it is by far the best fleet composition in the game. Just keep that 1:5 ratio ratio. You can also use the focus arc emitters if your enemy is running rapid deployment and no astral shielding edict. You can look at their enemy territory to see if there are enough astral rifts for them to actually activate the astral edict. If there aren't many astral rifts there, they probably don't have it. If you see that their fleets are disengaging the fight, well, that means they don't have no retreat war doctrine. If they aren't Gestalt consciousness and if they aren't militarist, they have no means of using the no retreat, so you can safely use the focus arc emitters. Very good. The fleet growth tip: one juvenile weaver with growth gland can accelerate the growth of your entire fleet. You can build it, attach it to your fleet, and that's it. The growth exploit as well: you can build juvenile ships with empty loadouts and set the elder loadouts with rare components, free upgrades, but use at your own discretion. Against mechanical fleets, just use literally any late game biocomposition, and if they have titans, you can just use the king of them all, the neutron plus kinetic stingers. The Venatorian Empire has begun. Every Saturday a new episode is released and channel members have exclusive powers. If you are a Grand Admiral and above, you can command your own fleets and order them across our roleplay. Warlords can also submit their own saves and I'll review and improve them, whatever save you want. So if you have been watching this channel and want to be a greater part of what we are building, join the High Command. So that's everything you need to know about Bioships Design 4.3 commanders: the mechanics, the designs, the fleet compositions, and the 200 plus battles of proof. Now, Bioships are the strongest fleet type in the game right now. They are cheaper to build, tankier in combat, more versatile in design, and they grow into endgame configurations for free. If you're not running Bioships, you're leaving power on the table. Now, if this guide helped you out, leave a like because it also helps me out a lot. And as always, commanders, I will see you guys next time.